Hello and welcome to part 4 of our investigative series into tax credit apartment properties. These are our questions to California Attorney General Jerry Brown. Mr. Brown, Congress passed the law in 1986, giving millions of dollars to the states to set up tax credit apartment properties. Recently, President Obama helped pass legislation giving millions of dollars more to the states for the tax credit apartment properties. Are you aware of that legislation? Do you have an opinion as to that legislation that essentially sanctioned the HUD regulations that state, quote, temporary, non-recurring, or sporadic income, unquote, must be excluded from the calculation of annual income for those applying to tax credit apartment properties? There's also about 16 or 17 other exclusions from income that the general public should be aware of when applying to these properties. If you have applied at these properties and any of these 17 exclusions have not been made, you may have a claim for damages against that apartment property. Jerry Brown, we have a definition on the screen of sporadic. Do you agree with that definition? Do you agree that such definition should apply to all tax credit apartment properties? Thomas Safran Associates of Los Angeles receives tax credits and millions of dollars in construction funds. They receive monies from over 7 different government agencies, including the California Tax Credit Allocation Committee, the California Department of Housing and Community Development, California Housing Finance Agency, and the Bank of America. Jerry Brown, as requested previously, can you supply us with a list of names and the dollar amount of all government agencies who supplied funding to Rittenhouse Square in Los Angeles? HUD has said that public housing authorities and others must not include sporadic income in the calculation of annual income. Well, that's in accordance with 24 CFR 5.609, also on the screen in front of you, which states that temporary, non-recurring, or sporadic income must be excluded. Mr. Attorney General, what is your opinion of these regulations? HUD has also said, on the other hand, that public housing authorities and tax credit apartment properties must have their own definition of temporary, non-recurring, or sporadic income. Don't you think, Jerry Brown, that this policy could cause discrimination in properties that might have one definition that applies to blacks and another definition that applies to whites or Hispanics? Do you have an opinion, Mr. Brown, on why properties like Thomas Safran Associates, Rittenhouse Square of Los Angeles, and Urban Futures of Tustin, California, are allowed to not exclude temporary, non-recurring, or sporadic income? Do you have an opinion as to what should be done to these properties or entities that are not complying with HUD regulations? Do you have an opinion on the Internal Revenue Service reclaiming the tax credits of Thomas Safran Associates based on their blatant and admitted widespread pattern and practice to not comply with state tax credit property regulations? Mr. Brown, I understand that you have said you are very concerned with the rights of senior citizens not to be taken advantage of, the rights of families in California to be treated in a lawful manner. Then I cannot understand your refusal to proceed with damage claims against Thomas Safran Associates and Rittenhouse Square for their widespread pattern and practice violating state regulations that govern tax credit properties, Mr. Brown. The State Tax Allocation Committee has said they will not investigate complaints from black applicants to tax credit properties, even though their website says they are in the compliance authority over tax credit properties. What is your opinion of this, Mr. Brown, who you are the Attorney General over all agencies of the state of California? We think, for the sake of all those citizens who apply, including the physically and mentally challenged African Americans, families, seniors, and others. That tax credit apartment properties across the country should be monitored immediately today for HUD non-compliance, including all Thomas Safran properties owned in California. Jerry Brown, what is your opinion? Do you support such immediate action to force compliance with state regulations? For all apartment properties across the country, do you support the payment of damages to all applicants who were not treated in accordance with state and federal regulations? Mr. Brown, we await your response.